Dinah Christie,
Miriam Ross.
comedian, chanteuse, lovely lady. I'm very happy to see you today,
Thank you.
and I want to talk a little bit about you.
Yes.
When did you start in showbiz?
My father needed desperately to have a character in something he was directing in Gravenhurst when I was 8. And although I begged to do something on stage for many years, the family had dissuaded the children at that early age to have anything to do with it, but he was stuck. So he asked me to do it, and I was terrified. It scared the pants off me, but I had to do it in a run. So by the time the 2 weeks or whatever that kind of summer stock thing was over, I felt more relaxed. And Warren Wilson was in the play. He played a 13-year-old boy, and I played an 8-year-old girl.
Oh my! What was the play? Do you remember?
No idea in the I think it was the beginning of Sweeney Todd. Dad had staged a town scene, and he directed Sweeney Todd before
So it was
anybody knew it
musical?
was. No, that's Stephen Sondheim who added the music. It was the
this was the
original,
original.
the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, I think it was called. And he directed that as we had a summer cottage in that area, and Araby Lockhart, he brought up Araby, and Peter Muse, and Jack Medhurst, and they were all chums, and they all liked to play acts, so they started summer stock seasons in little town halls around that part of Ontario, and Haliburton, and all that area, and because of that, we got to do summer cottaging, and so that's why I was hauled in. That was a highly forgettable moment, I'm sure, of my career on stage, but after that I fell kind of into it, looking for a summer job while my father was working at Stratford. And I needed, at teenage, at 12, needed to have a summer job. All my other friends did. But in Stratford there was no place to go really. I tried every place. And finally they let me be a call boy at the Stratford Festival. When I was 11, Tanya Mazejevich saw me hanging around trying to get a job the year before. And she finally said, "Come with me. I'm going to show you this trick, Dinah. These things are called costumes. They're for a play called Oedipus Rex. They're lying on this big factory room floor on Erie Street because they need to be broken down. And this is how you break down, Dinah. Here's the messy old paint, water and paint, different browns, different grays." And she showed me just what to do to break down costumes so they looked like they'd been worn on poor folks, following, John the Baptist around, whatever. And
Great
so
training.
that was great training. Best part was when I saw her workspace and saw how messy it was. I felt much better about my workspaces.
Perfect job.
Yes.
Yes. And when did you start your professional career?
Just before that, when I was in high school, my parents, the marriage broke up, and I think out of guilt, Daddy gave me a guitar for Christmas, which was much too expensive because there was no money. But I immediately started to learn it in all the wrong ways. Nobody ever taught me. I taught myself, so my fingering is quite awful to look at. But through that, for some reason, Creeley found out about it. Jack Creeley found out about it when we were at Stratford. Again, I was running around the streets with a guitar, and he said, "Aren't you Dinah Christie, and what are you doing with that guitar?" And I played him a few things, and he said, "Well, you should do more." And then suddenly Pierre Burton heard about it, and somebody else heard about it. They had television shows at CTV and places, and I suddenly, as a teenager in third form high school, I was going off after dinner to the TV station, and at 11:30 in the night, I was singing live with a guitar somewhere, usually sitting on top of some ladder or some weird thing they thought of for sets, because they had no money for sets. And bring that big ladder and put her up there. And that was when I actually started to get a paycheck for that sort of thing. I'd never even thought of it seriously. It was just, it came about. And then after that, I needed a summer job properly again. And while I was working at Stratford backstage, I got bored and started to learn some speeches from Romeo and Juliet and Twelfth Night, and Beatrice's speech to Leontes from Winter's Tale, and interesting women's parts that weren't petite, soft young girl things particularly, because I never thought of myself as a Juliet. But I had to do the potion speech because Daddy said every young girl has to know either what means this lady, I left no ring with her, either that or the potion speech has to be perfect before you bother going on into anything else. So I did that. And then one night I fell asleep on the stage because I had been working in stage management, so I knew all the lights. And I turned out the house in this beautiful big theater at Stratford, and was working with some lovely light on the stage. And at about 2, I fell asleep and woke up at about 2 in the morning. I started to plow through because I had some ideas, and started doing the Beatrice thing again. And I heard a sound in the dark. I knew I was alone, except for the night watchman.
Yeah,
I knew I was alone in this theater. And it was Michael Langham, who had been working in his office, and he'd heard some noises, come in and sat up in the balcony, and he said, Dinah, excuse me, darling, this is Michael. Do you mind if I come down and talk to you about what you're doing? And I said, no, not at all. Whoa! And he came down and he talked me through some things, and then the next season I was invited to join the company without asking. I just was going to be working backstage for the rest of my life, but he said that I should come. But I know why now, you see, because I was bigger than everybody, so they would put the most expensive, heaviest French brocade and all those velvets that they could afford in those days.
I don't think that was the only reason.
Well, and I did get to go on for somebody when I was understudying. Joy Parker, who was Paul Schofield's wife, he had to go and leave and film Man for All Seasons, and so they left the season early. And,
what year was this?
Oh, darling, I'm no good at things like that. But that would have been 60.
It was in the 60s.
2 or 3, yes,
No,
yes.
It wasn't when they had the theater in the round. They had already built the theater.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Theater in the round was before your time. You were still a baby.
No, that was when, at the Stratford Festival in the tent? No, the very last year of the tent was my very first year as call boy at the Stratford Festival. I didn't know much, so I told everybody I was the call girl of the Stratford Festival. So that.
How did you graduate to radio and television?
I don't know. It just seemed to evolve. At some point, I started to sing around town in clubs and hang out with folk artists and jazz artists, and I ended up singing at the town tavern and all sorts of interesting places that I never would have thought about. And I guess I got woven in. You see, in the olden days, darling, there was such a thing as music on CBC radio and television.
Yes,
Real
I remember
music,
it well.
remember that? And so, if you were an actress and a musician, you just moved in between those two milieus. It wasn't, she's a singer, therefore don't ask her to act. She's an actress, don't ask her to write. You know, she's a director, don't ask her to look. And all that shit came down. So, I just kept going like that. And at one point, Jan Rubesch and I were asked by that beautiful man, John, radio director, the good one who writes and is a long-distance runner.
Oh, yes.
Yes, excellent.
Yes.
And he asked us to do a summer show called Cantando. And we both hosted with our guitars a series of shows, sometimes together, often apart. Jan would have his guest. Next week I would be on and have my guest. And Josh White came through there, Ian and Sylvia, all sorts of friends who were big stars in those days. That was a radio show that was kind of like a little summer series for me.
And that was on CBC?
And then for some reason I did get involved in the drama too. Essa, the last years of
Stage or
but not Essa, it was Andrew.
Andrew, yeah.
It was Andrew Allen who liked young girls around, remember?
Yes.
I apparently turned out to be one, although that's all we ever did was act and go to dinner with him. You know, I act as a kind of a consort to him. But that was a pleasure because I learned so much from all those people. I was working with Alice Hill and Murray Westgate and Sandra, and George Salverson was writing, and all those big stars.
Sean Bethune.
Sean Bethune.
Yes.
Oh, it was a very exciting time.
And Robert Christie.
Sometimes I worked at Stratford with him in a musical.
Did you?
Called the Satyricon in 1969. And that was a treat, too. He was just a delight to watch my daddy in a musical, because he just loved musicals, you know, and he'd just sort of pump around on the stage like a senator. It was just charming. But I played a hooker, so I don't know if he felt good about that.
Oh, that's all right.
The music was great. You've played a hooker before?
I played a hooker the first time that I came here in '56 at the Crest Theater in Wilderness.
Wilderness.
And I had a wonderful time.
I'll bet you did. I heard that about you. Wilderness. That is by
Eugene
O'Neill. It is, yeah, good.
That was Donald Davis and
Murray and Barbara.
Shilka.
Yeah.
Them were the days. Tell me, how did you feel about Actra coming in? And did you?
I didn't notice it, you see, because just as I was coming in, Actra was coming in, and AFM. And it came to be.
It was normal.
Well, my father had been involved in bringing in Actra. He was very pink, Daddy was, very much a union man. And so it was just like the growth. I mean, Daddy approached it as the growth of a professional situation, a much needed control area that had to be there that they'd obviously been talking about for years.
And did you work for Actra as well?
No. But Father set up the Actors Fund.
Yeah.
With Janie and
Jane
Mallet and a variety of other people involved with that. So he was very much involved. His heart was with the union, with a group of people who could monitor, who could make sure the artists got paid what they were worth, who would take some money from whichever corner they had to make sure when the artist was in trouble there was insurance of some sort, of a future of some sort, of bit by bit medical things and dental things coming in. That was very important to him. So it ended up sort of being breakfast food for us too. It just made sense in the growth of an important culture that there be some kind of monitoring, protection and guide.
Well, I can remember before Actra the salaries, or before
Can you?
in New York.
After in New York.
The salaries we got. So.
Well, then it would have been half that here. What did you get then?
Well, for Let's Pretend, which was a children's program, and was on every Saturday morning for 25 years, when it was right in the middle, before it was sponsored by Cream of Wheat, after every show we would go up to Nala Mac's office, and she would hand out $3.50 to each of us.
In New York?
In New York, but this was a long, long time. This was in the 30s.
Oh, yeah.
And then you could get a sandwich, a chock full of nuts for a nickel.
That's right. So, yes, of course.
But when Actra came in, Aftra came in, it was quite wonderful. And they unfortunately faded when Screen Actors Guild took over the taping.
That's right.
But you were live.
That's right.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Yeah.
If you had to say to somebody, do or don't go into this business, what advice would you give them?
I've had to say I've never said those things, but I've been asked, as you have all our lives, about the sensibility or whatever of that. And there's not something I would ever contribute an opinion on. But I would, obviously suggest that if you're meant to be in the business, no matter what I would suggest to you would mean nothing anyway. You would be in the business. So it doesn't matter if I say to diddly, Mostly I would try to help by helping what next step would be if you are so inclined.
Well, if you felt somebody was completely untalented and they had this burning desire, what would you do?
I would encourage them to go right ahead. You know why? Because how many people told Laurence Olivier that he should be selling bloody flowers in Piccadilly Circus and never try to act again? So who are we? For starters, you and I have no use for critics. Or I find judgment boring in any case, because it doesn't matter what end you come into the business. If you're bitten by something, you'll eventually find your milieu, your crook. I saw an 11-year-old boy on the weekend who came to me. I'd shoot a lot of high eight for a variety of different reasons. I shoot Shakespearean plays down in Park in Halifax. I shoot musicals being done in BC. I just happen to have friends who are working this way and nobody to shoot for them, so I go and shoot. And I love it. And this dear little thing came up to me and said, "Can I see that?" And his eyes this is my farm country. Country. "Can I see that?" And I showed it to him, showed him how flip out the little screen on the side, take a good look, run it back, hear sound through it, see color. It's just a $2,000 camera, but it was nice.
Where did you learn that?
Desperation, like I've learned everything else. nobody else to do it. Writing musicals with Tom Kneebone and nobody there to shoot them. So here I am, and the look on his little face. I promised him today when I came into town that I would go and find him some used camera, some way, somehow. And I knew, marvelous, we've got a cinematographer here, and even if we've got a director, who cares? This is the tool. He knows the tool, he's drawn to the tool, he's 11 years old, and those eyes are burning. Yeah. So you move fast and you get that kid a secondhand something rather quick. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, you just mentioned Tom Kneebone. Now, how did you two first meet?
We were hurled together by a madman called Roderick Cook, who didn't know any better, so he threw us into something called Ding Dong at the Dell in 1965, which is my first launch into cabaret. In fact, apparently, when we look back, Tom and I and Roderick started cabaret in Toronto. There was no such thing. We conned this very nice gentleman in an Italian restaurant to let us go up on stage and put together what they called a revue, which is all sorts of silly zingers and crossovers and tiny sketches and wonderful songs.
I saw you do the Old Coward.
That was next. Wasn't that lovely, Old Coward?
Yeah.
That Roderick put that together. He wrote that.
Yeah.
Yes. So he came back to Canada when he got that fixed and asked Tom and I to do that in the same situation, Ding Dong at the Dell, with him. I mean, at the Dell Tavern, I think it was called, an Italian restaurant. And that was a nice place. And the three of us worked together in that, and then we toured it around a variety of places. But it was TK and I, Tom and I, who, after Chicago, going to Boston and going to New York, we were kind of like this, as much as we love Coward, and I can play it until I drop dead and I'll never forget a line, but we needed to do something else. So we found something called The Apple Tree that Bach and Harnick had written, and Alan Alda and that beautiful Barbara Harris had done on Broadway with Larry Storch. And we grabbed that and put it together first as an evening, then as something else. Then when Mr. Creeley was playing the voice of God and the Snake, one of our productions. It's great. Didn't have to change many clothing, just a set. And then we put it on stage here again in Toronto, and then toured that around to different places. And after that, people just kept saying, you and your partner, or we work well together because we're so different, and so we just kept doing other things. Saw In Time to Shakespeare, Dinah and Tom, all sorts of Cole Porter, all sorts of other things coming in, concerts at Massey Hall, warming for Bobby Short on an evening in Toronto when he came up to perform, and filming and radio musical specials. We got a couple of awards for, and
what?
Actra awards for it's
what?
called Tom and Dinah, I think, on stage with Tom and Dinah, some CBC radio thing. And we've worked together, and we still do. He's the artistic director of the Smile Theatre Company, which was started over 30 years ago by George Murray, Joyce Hahn, and several other people who thought that seniors in a situation where they can no longer get out need to have theatre taken to them. And now Kneebone is the artistic director after these years.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
My father was the artistic director at one point as well, about 12 years ago, for a little while. And through the years, it's never actually really died, this Smile Theatre Company, but it's never had a consistent season or number of shows.
It's located in Toronto.
It is so, on King Street West in one of Mr. Mervish's buildings. We have the 5th floor, the second half of the 5th floor, and Kneebone this is his 10th year. And he has taken it from struggling to standing strong. I mean, there's no money because it's not a granted situation at all. We have to beg for money all the time because there's no money from the seniors' homes either. But Tom's part of Tom's mandate is that they be original Ontario, or at least Canadian stories. For touring to, we have a sold-out audience that lasts for a 5 to 6 week run, and Kneebone insists upon mounting 5 new musicals a year. So it's an extraordinary season, and we've been getting wonderful reaction from the people that we perform to and our friends.
Audience? Where do you actually go?
In senior situations and hospitals and libraries and sometimes schools to children all around Toronto. from the Belmont House to all the Queen Street Seniors homes and the Yonge Street Seniors homes, all around Toronto, all around Mississauga, out to Kitchener, out to Peterborough, to Oshawa, to as long as we can drive a van there and get a show mounted, because we do 2 a day. One in Oshawa. No, Kneebone is the artistic director, and he hires a cast of people. We don't perform.
I see.
We don't perform, we write.
I see.
And he directs or I direct. And he has other writers too who come in and write a 1 hour, one piece story of a Canadian with original music.
And do you use
professional actors
professional
and dancers
actors?
and singers, yes. Yes, and that we use the young ones. A,
Yes.
because it's a very strenuous tour. B, because there's so much talent available. Young talent that no one's hiring because there's nothing happening.
Well, it's wonderful stomping ground for anyone.
And once you get through performing, when people are having to be taken out because their IV slipped out of their what's-it, honey, nothing is going to blow you on stage.
I'm impressed.
Thank you. And we'd
really
also
am.
like to tell you that we pay over scale. Mr. Kneebone has never felt good about not paying over scale, so.
You have nothing to do now with TV or radio?
No, not regularly. No, I just
There isn't
go
very
and do.
much around
no,
anyway.
No, I mostly have a live show. What I do, I have a band and we do concerts and I tour.
Where is that?
All around, all around.
We had at this meeting, I'm going to digress for a moment, a panel on the big bands. And Dolly Dawn was there. Do you remember Dolly Dawn?
The name, certainly.
And Kitty Callan.
Kitty Callan.
And she looks younger than ever.
I'll bet.
She looks absolutely wonderful.
Have you seen Jane Powell lately? That's very crazy. I saw her on the on Arts Breakfast with the Arts the other day. She's extraordinary.
They've got nothing on you, kid. You look absolutely
Thanks,
great.
baby. You do too. We just for you last month I hosted a big band celebration. Yeah, and 6 bands came from all over Ontario, and we set up this huge, wonderful place with one band at one side, and when they were just finishing, the other band was quietly getting up onto their side. And it was an afternoon of hearing them all play separately, and then a great big huge dinner, and then they jammed, and then a variety of bands played for dance music all night long. And this is the 2nd year they've done it. It's so fabulous.
Oh, how great.
And we're going to do it in Thornbury next spring too. So I love that big bands are coming back, and the best thing is so many young people are in the audience dancing. I started singing with Bobby Chimby. That's one of the first things. Bobby Chimby, who wrote "Can I 1 and 2 and 3 Canadians, we love you," and he had a big band at the Royal Pork. Mr. Kneebone calls it the Imperious Room at the Royal Pork, and I got to sing with that big band. So that's how I first started. It did puzzle me a great deal because you had to sit there in the front row with the band members when you weren't performing, and I never understood how that role should play out terribly well. People staring at you as they went by dancing, and you couldn't smoke or do your nails or anything. You had to just sit there and be a person. So quite quickly I got out of that, and I got my own guitar and started to fill in the spaces myself, so that I was at least sort of hosting the evening.
Well, how do you feel about your guitar now?
I still use it. I write with it. I've got a lovely little Martin that all my guitar player friends want, but they shan't get. It's a very nice small instrument, so it's easy to travel with, and it's a joy. I don't get enough time at it, and I don't concentrate that much on it.
I wish you were performing more.
I am. It's just not in Toronto. This is not a town that I would just come and perform in. I would do it. I would build something new. I would make it a special occasion.
Where are you living now?
2 hours northwest of here, in the country, on a farm, a heritage farm, very old farmhouse.
And
Log.
you've been there for a long time.
26 years I bought it. I bought it for $16,500.
You're not 26 years old yet.
Not yet, but just before I was born I bought it. And it's kept me sane, even though I've lived in Manhattan and I've lived in LA and I've lived in Chicago, knowing it was there, because I'm not a big city girl anymore. It doesn't interest me. If it did, it would be San Francisco or someplace that would really
Yeah,
interest me. You know?
yeah. What would you like to do now for the rest of the time?
I have a big list, my darling girl. And one of the farthest away, it's getting too far away, is designing a line of clothing in hemp. And the other is flying a plane. I'd like to learn how to fly. However, between then and now, I have a company. I'm an inventor. So part of my life is a businesswoman. And I invent things that protect the back of your heels when you're driving a car, or you know, carry water bottles. Oh gosh, I didn't bring any of them, but the company's called the Bad Sisters, and by the time anybody looks at this archive, we're going to be so famous you won't have to ask. And other than that, writing, I think that's really filmmaking and writing. I've got a lovely musical that I'm writing for film, because it's time that there were some more musicals on film, really good ones.
Do you feel that the musical talent that is around now in Toronto is as good as it was?
Oh, it's even more.
Is it?
Do you know, as much as there was great worry about the CRTC ruling that indicated 33 1/3 of everything had to be Canadian played anymore on Canadian television, duh, quite right, duh. And it was unfortunate that it was a fascistic sort of move that had to be made. But indeed, now our Canadian musicians are known all over the world, and genuinely because of that one thing, because our radio gets listened to all over the world. So finally, the insistence on Canadian artists performing on Canadian radio and television, and anything musical, that has proven to work absolutely, I think, splendidly. There's so much talent around. There's so much good Canadian talent.
I've never understood.
That's it.
Where do they get their training? Where do they get? They don't. They get it through experience, don't they?
Of course, and looking at what is already out there, so that they get an image of how they think they want to present themselves. That's helpful, because the old people aren't around to help create the things that I was helped with. I was helped by Belafonte, by real senior magical performers. I would say Chris Plummer made me work on a song over and over and over again one summer, till I understood every note of what I was singing. And he took it as a directorial thing for himself too, do you know? And those people aren't around to help. There aren't managers like they were once managers who spent time with an artist, found the things they needed, made sure they took their singing lessons or whatever to develop them. They don't exist anymore. But then by the same token, the kind of communications are so different now. The way we are communicating with each other is so different now. To sit here with Peter, to just have the private closeness of this kind of camera work, you know, in-your-face camera work, is what young people are getting. They go and make a video. See, the first thing you can do is make a video for no money. You can borrow your daddy's camera, and your boyfriend can shoot you downstairs, lip-syncing to some raggedy old, you know,
but then you get
Midler song.
Who are really not talented.
Well, no, good, but this way you're learning. You're learning if you're going to be presentable enough for people to want to see it a second time. You know, you're learning. You have actual technical things to help you learn. You've got a monitor somewhere. You've got somebody to look at you and say, why is your hair in your face in the light like that? And if you're going to do that, then bounce it from here, do you know? So that kind of thing you can teach yourself. It's like the computer. We have a whole new group of people growing up that know the computer inside out, and all of their immediate friends and parents have no idea what they're talking about.
How do you feel about writing music on the computer?
Just fine. Just fine. I love my computer. I love my computer. In fact, the way I write, because I don't read it and write it particularly, you know, I can slowly sight read something and get through it. But the way I write, I use it just as script, as lyric stuff, and then I take my music onto a tape myself, then I take myself and my tape over to my musical director, and we work it out like that, bit by bit by bit.
I see that we are limited now in time. I would like to...
well, we've covered everything that I have to do with the union. Because since then, the television stuff I did was Party Game, 10 years worth, and then another 3 years of Don Adams' Check It Out, situation comedy, and that was under the auspices of Actra too, of course. And since then, as you say, I haven't been on television that I need any kind of actor contract for.
Well, the business has changed so much.
Exactly,
anyway,
exactly.
And it's always, I think, been our training to do something, to get the job ourselves, to create a job if there was nothing there.
That's right.
And that,
That's right.
I think you've been wonderful.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay, you've changed outfits.
Yes, I've changed outfits. I'll just explain it this way. I will explain my change for you.
Your change of outfit,
my
yes.
change of outfit. I'm on my way out the door, and Miriam realized that I should tell you that this is my Ultra visor, which I designed. The company's called the Bad Sisters, Blondes Against Drunk Drivers. And I also have a plaque in the Museum of Science and Technology, because I'm an inventor of something called a hot heel, which is something you can wear on your foot to protect your accelerator heel from wearing away totally when you drive a car. And the only unfortunate thing is it's so expensive to make. It's prohibitive, and people don't want to spend whatever it's going to have to be to make it. But other than that, the Bad Sisters makes all these other things too. So thank you and farewell.
Can you tell us where we got them?
Yes, we can. We can tell you that at the moment, well, this is, hopefully you'll be seeing this archive when you won't have to ask, but Tilly Endurables, which is the most wonderful shop and has a worldwide catalog in which we are, carries our products. Thank
In
you and
Toronto?
good night.
In
All
Toronto?
over in Toronto is the home base, but they have
We're in Toronto.
the Tilly Endurables people are at 900 Don Mills Road, as well as on the Queen's Quay, where Marianne takes care of you. And there's a shop in Buffalo, and there are shops all over the world that carry the Tilly products.
You're not going to be paid for this commercial.
I shan't be, you know. God damn again. The union's going to be so upset.
Thank you, Dinah.
Thank you, darling.